On a quiet Friday night, September 12th, 1997, at exactly 12:30 a.m., the city of Los Angeles was sinking into its usual silence. No alarm sirens, no police cars, nothing to suggest that history was about to be written inside a building that looked ordinary from the outside, yet was, in reality, one of the most heavily secured places in the United States. That building was not a bank, but a company specialized in transporting and storing banks' money. Banks entrusted it with millions of dollars to be moved from one branch to another, or to be stored in ultra-secure vaults during weekends and holidays. Anyone who stepped inside its vault at any time would find enormous amounts of cash. Still, no one ever imagined that this fortress could be breached. At first glance, the robbery might sound ordinary. A gang breaks in, steals money, and disappears. But the truth was far more complex. This operation, officially classified as the largest cash heist in history, was surrounded by unprecedented media silence. Its full details did not emerge until many years later, and with each passing period, new information surfaced that turned the story upside down. Why? Because what happened that night was completely unexpected, and because the mastermind behind the operation was the last person anyone would ever suspect. Several months before the robbery, during a gathering in May 1997, 6 friends were sitting together at one of their homes. The atmosphere was normal. Laughter, jokes, alcohol. Suddenly, one of them said what sounded like a joke. "What do you say we become millionaires with a simple plan?" Everyone burst out laughing. But when he repeated it in a different tone, curiosity crept into the room. One of them asked, "How?" The answer was shocking in its simplicity. "We robbed the company I work for." The company he worked at was no ordinary place. It was a facility known for its extreme security. No one took him seriously at first until he pulled out a stack of papers and blueprints and placed them on the table. The laughter stopped. Silence took over. Everything was written down, calculated, and carefully planned. At that moment, the joke turned into an idea, and the idea became a real project. The 6 had been friends since childhood. None of them had a criminal record or any history of crime. As kids, they used to play at being a gang, a secret organization with its own language, symbols, and rituals. It was nothing more than childhood games. They grew up, but their bond remained. They tried to join the Navy, but all failed. Later, they worked as civilian contractors with the police, serving as safety and security officers assigned to facilities instead of working for private security companies. One of them worked inside the armored company itself. His job gave him wide authority, inspecting alarm systems, monitoring cameras, analyzing suspicious movements, and supervising money transfers in and out of the building. Over time, he came to know the place like the back of his hand. Every corner, every camera, every alarm, and every daily routine that never changed. Once his friends agreed to the plan, the real preparation began. 6 full months of silent work. The biggest problem wasn't the company's cameras, but the cameras connected directly to the police monitoring center. Hacking the company's system was possible, but the police system, that was a red line. So he began gathering information cleverly, without raising suspicion. Casual coffee chats with monitoring staff, small observations, details stored carefully in memory. He discovered that the internal cameras were not live-streamed to the police. They were only recorded on tapes that were reviewed later if needed. The external cameras, however, were connected directly. That's where the real game began. He suggested to management that camera angles be adjusted to improve visibility and better capture license plates. Management approved without hesitation. No one suspected him. He was the model safety officer. Camera by camera, angle by angle, small paths were created. Blind spots, invisible to the lenses. Paths that only someone who knew the timing and movement could pass through without being seen. He trained himself repeatedly until he was certain the cameras could not see him. At the same time, he mastered the alarm system and learned how to disable it from the inside within seconds. The biggest shock came just one day before execution. He was fired for using company vehicles for personal purposes. That alone should have cancelled the entire plan. Robbing the company the day after being fired would have made him the prime suspect instantly. Yet he decided to go on. His friends insisted. The plan was perfect, and backing out at that stage meant losing everything. On the night of the operation, they attended a loud party at a beach nightclub. They danced, took photos, and created a solid, time-based alibi. At 11 p.m., they quietly left the party, changed into black clothes, wore masks, and deliberately altered their accents to avoid recognition. At 12:30 a.m., they arrived at the building. It was during the monitoring staff's break. They entered, using original keys, moved precisely along the calculated route, avoided the cameras, and disabled the alarm. They subdued the employees without chaos, cut the alarm wires, and collected all surveillance tapes, even old ones. They left behind no eyes that could tell the story. Inside the vault, millions were stacked neatly. They worked calmly, without rushing, starting with $100 bills, then 50s, then 20s. A large truck entered the building as if it were part of the normal routine. The cameras saw a vehicle enter and leave, nothing unusual. In less than half an hour, they exited the building exactly as they had entered. Doors were closed, they vanished into the night, and the money was transferred to other vehicles at a remote location. The total amount stolen was $18.9 million, equivalent to more than $30 million today. They returned to the party, stayed until morning, then each went home as if nothing had happened. The next day, investigations began. Police questioned the mastermind 4 times, not as a suspect, but as a witness. There was no evidence, no footage, not a single mistake. Months passed, then years. The money remained buried, untouched. Later, they hired a lawyer who promised to launder the money and turn it into legal investments. Everything was going according to plan, until one of them made a fatal mistake. He paid cash to buy real estate, and the banknotes carried stamps and serial numbers traced back to the robbed company. With that single mistake, everything collapsed. Police retraced the threads and arrested them all. The sentences were harsh: life imprisonment and long years behind bars. Nearly all the money was recovered. In the official investigation reports, one striking line was written: "If that mistake had not been made, we would not have been able to solve this case to this day." A story that proves that the perfect crime may be possible, but the human being is always the weakest link.